Hello, Mr. Groff here, Kruger Middle School, KSAT. We're going to be working today on a rocket altitude calculator for our integrated project. Basically, we're going to be using our formula to create a calculator that will calculate the rocket altitude. Alright, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and create a new project, and we'll name it Altitude Calculator. Make sure that your project name is all together, no spaces. Click OK. In the first part, we're going to set up the components, and then in the second part, what we'll do is actually program it. So on screen 1 here, let's go ahead and give it a name for our title. We'll just name it Rocket Altitude Calculator. And we're going to be using labels and text boxes for our components. So let's go ahead, we'll get a label, and we'll get a text box here. Alright, you want to select label 1. Let's rename this one the distance label. And then for the text, go ahead and name it distance. And then this text box, we'll rename it distance text box. No spaces. And then for the hint, just go ahead and delete it so there's nothing in there. And we'll do that again. So let's get another label and another text box. Select the label. Let's rename this one. This one is going to be ratio A1. Make sure you don't have a space when you're naming the component. The text will be ratio A1 and then the equal sign. And then for the text box, let's go ahead and rename it ratio A1 text box. Ratio A1 text box. And we're going to do that same thing for ratio A2. So let's get a label. And let's get another text box. Select the label. This will be ratio A2 label. And we want to change the text on it to ratio A2 equals. And then for the text box, go ahead and rename it ratio A2. There we go. So we have those set up. We're going to add another label. And this one is going to be renamed, this is our result label. And for the text, you want to change the text to total altitude. And then your equal sign. And then underneath that, let's put in a button. This will be our calculation button. So let's rename our button. Let's name it calculate button. And then the text, we want it to say calculate altitude. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add an image. Let's go ahead and take an image and we'll drop it on the top above distance. And under where it says picture here under properties, click on none and then do upload file. Click choose file. On the 506 I've got a picture. So let's go to the App Inventor folder and then Rocket Altitude Calculator. And there's the image. I've made this image in Illustrator. You're going to click OK. Alright, so it kind of jazzes it up, makes it look a little nicer. You can go back to these text labels and you can change the font size right now and give it some color to make it look a little nicer. Okay, so basically what we've set up, we have a little picture for our app. We've got the distance, so we can type in the distance into our text box. We can type in ratio A1 and ratio A2. And then we'll set it up so that when we have those three items typed in, we can hit the calculate altitude button, and where it says total altitude we'll get a result, and that's what we'll be setting up in part 2. Alright, so once you have that done, go ahead and click on this little button, or actually just go ahead, you'll be finished with that. Okay.